Hello, everyone. Oh, it's so bright. Hello, everyone. This is Krista, and welcome to the Feminine Takeoff. Oops, I forgot my headphones. So I know it's been a little bit of a while, and I have my earpods in, but I don't have any microphone to talk, and I'm outside just enjoying the scenery. So I thought I should come here and make a video for us. So so here it is. I don't know what the lighting is looking like. I am doing like a natural light, but I think this lighting is good. And let me just get started on the video. First, I would like to thank all of you for being here, coming, watching me, despite my inconsistencies. Thank you for following the channel. Thank you for recommending me things. Thank you for just your voice. Thank you for supporting this platform of sisterhood. I wouldn't be here without you all. And so thank you for growing with me, overall. So anyway, thank you so much. Let's get started in the topic of this video. So the topic of today's video is actually going to be how to or strategies to take to quickly and smoothly or safely remove yourself from situations that no longer serve you as a feminine being, as a feminine woman. Okay, so let's get started. With that being said, let's get started. Before I dive in, I wanted to say, remember your goals. If you do not know what your goals are, then you won't even know where you're going in order to know whether or not you should remove yourself. So if you do not have goals, make them. Otherwise, you cannot remove yourself from a situation when you yourself, you don't know where it is that you are going, you see. So with that being said, let's begin. So number one on strategies are how to remove yourself from situations that no longer serve you. My point number one is have a positive or close role model. And so what do I mean by that? Have at least one role model, a family member or a close friend that you can trust and seek counsel from. This is really important. Have this person that you have, this counsel, this family member, this close friend, or this family friend that you have, let that person be on the track very close to you or already has accomplished the things that you are aiming towards. So if you're aiming towards having a safe, positive marriage, then you seek counsel from someone who has been in a good marriage. Okay. No marriage is perfect, but you want to seek counsel from people who have accomplished the things you have. If you want to, become a pilot. Sorry, they're blowing leaves, so it's gonna be pretty loud here. Anyway, so back to my point, or if you want to be a doctor, or if you want to be an influencer, so or like a marketing strategist, then this person that you're trying to seek counsel from also have had to accomplish whatever they need to accomplish in marketing in order to understand the things that you're going through. Or if they haven't accomplished it, they've studied it enough to practice it in order to teach it. Okay. Einstein said, if you cannot explain it simply, then you simply do not understand it well enough. So that goes well across board for everything else. If whoever you're seeking counsel from cannot explain something simply and concisely for you to understand, for you to learn, that means that they themselves have not understood it well enough to even teach you or give you counsel on it. And where does that lead to? That kind of leads to the blind leading the blind. Okay, and that's really not the situation where we really want to find ourselves in, being led by someone who doesn't even know where they're going, where they've gone, or where they're gonna go. By the way, this is my first time making a video outside in public, so I don't Now I understand. Every time I do something as I'm recording my videos, I truly understand when influencers are making their videos, are doing so on and forth. I understand now the true thought and effort that it takes to to do these videos and things from other influencers. So I really, the more and more I follow in doing these videos and stuff, I have more respect for people who have been doing it. But anyway, I give an example here. Imagine a doctor doing their residency or their fellowship, if they're a heart doctor, or whatever they need to do. Usually I know about residency or fellowship. And imagine a doctor doing their residency or fellowship, instead at a hospital, they're doing that, or an internship at a sewing company or at a fashion company. There's nothing wrong with fashion or sewing clothes, but imagine your doctor said, oh my God, on my final year of medical school, I actually did my residency at a fashion house. What are you going to say? You're going to, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, right? It sounds a little concerning and confusing, right? Well, that's the same thing when you're seeking counsel from people who are not in the realm of where you want to go, or where you're aiming to be final staging yourself at. So in point number one, again, just to recap, I said have at least one good role model, family member, or friend that you can seek counsel from in order to strategize or find a way to get out of situations quickly that no longer serve you. And so in each point, I actually wrote A, B, and C. So what I mean is, it's just my type A brain. I wrote 1A, 1B, 1C. So I'm gonna go a little bit deeper in this. So 1A, I also wrote this role model must have children, or a solid family dynamic, or a reputable life where they have something to lose. And why did I write that? Is because people with families, solid families, and I don't mean people who just have had children outside of a solid platform, whether it is marriage or solid union or whatever. What I mean is people who have intentionally taken the time to get married or to have children on a solid platform to bring life, educate, and raise life in a solid platform. Those people have a lot to lose. So the counsel, the advice they give you also makes sense. Those advice sounds like it's coming from people who have indeed a lot to lose. Again, just to reiterate, I specifically am saying people who have children or a solid family. I don't mean someone who just had a couple of children out of wedlock or out of a solid platform. I mean those people who have children, who are well educated, who are thriving in life, who are being directed to thrive in life. Because when someone like that gives you counsel, they kind of, not in a, especially if you're a lot younger than them, they give you counsel not necessarily as they're looking down upon you because they're older than you, but they give you counsel. They most likely wouldn't tell you anything that they would not tell their children. So one of my really good role models, actually 95% of my role models have children, and some of these, a lot of my friends and my role models are older than me. So for example, one recently that I've been seeking counsel from, her daughter is my age. She's in her late 20s, and her daughter is actually in med school, finishing up her last year in med school. So as she gives me advice, she literally tells me, I will never tell you something that I wouldn't tell my daughter or my son, because her children are even in high achieving positions than I am even. I know that the things that she tells me, when she speaks to me, it's like she's speaking to someone who might be a med student, someone who might be a lawyer, someone who might be a pilot, someone who might be a multi-million-dollar business owner, a multi-billion-dollar business owner. She speaks to me as she would, with high regard and high expectations. Okay, she doesn't speak to me like, oh, she has these children who she doesn't know what they're doing in school, where their grades are, what to expect from them, and she's just la-di-da, having brunch on the weekends and living a simple life. No, she has a really stable life. And so that's what I mean by having a role model that has a family, has a children, has a dynamic where it looks stable, essentially. Okay. And another point in point number 1 that I write, point B as you will call it, is you must know this role model for at least 2 to 3 years minimum. And why I wrote that is because a lot of times when we see people on and off for a few months, or when we see people, when we know someone, we just meet someone and they tell us their story, right? They tell us their facade even, God forbid. But we all have narratives and stories that we tell. Some of us tell it as true as it can be to reality, and some of us tell it as far it can be from reality. So, but when you know someone for at least 2-3 years, you've kind of seen them in different seasons, and you kind of see how they interact with other people. Okay, so so that's why I say you have to know this role model, or at least have an idea of them, or you can research about them a few years back. So whatever they're telling you, they're not just pulling it out of their tush. They actually have a proven record that you can keep track of whatever it is that they're telling you or teaching you about. Okay. And final point in point number 1, point C, is you need to be able to witness this role model genuinely be there for someone else outside of you. And what I mean by that is, a lot of time people can say, oh my God, I can show you great things, I can give you great advice, I'm your good friend, I'm your good counsel, or whatever, right? But you don't really see them be that way to anybody else. You kind of just, with anybody else, someone might come and say, oh, this person was talking badly about me, or I told them my secret, I confided in them, and they went and swept the rug from under me, or so on and forth. But when you have this role model, this person you admire, who you seek counsel from, who kind of directs you and guides you, and you are able to witness them help other people, it gives you a sense of safety, where you're like, okay, not only are they helping me, I can trust them, but I've seen them steer other people in a good direction. Okay. If you are seeking counsel or a role model, that means that, to me, it seems like you're seeking something from, you're seeking a higher purpose, a higher life, right? Even Jesus whether he studied by himself a lot, but just people in general, even the leaders of different countries, they have people that they've studied, learned from before or during their leadership, right? They had people who, like a pre-runner, I don't know, in the car racing industry, in the car racing industry, there's this truck that goes and pre-runs the races. Okay. And this a car or truck, and they go and they seek out the road just to see if everything's perfect before the actual race begins, right? So a role model is kind of like a pre-runner. So that's why you need to know them. You need to know their reputable source, and you need to also know that they have done the experience of running on the road, basically, as a pre-runner truck would, or a pre-runner car would, right? Forgive me, I'm talking about cars. You guys know I do different things for work, but I'm a contractor. But I also, a big thing that I contract is in the automotive industry. So I'm at a car show right now. That's why I'm in a hotel. So that's, if I'm talking about cars, you see why. But anyway, so this person that you are seeking counsel from or admiring or so, you need to be able to witness them steer someone else in a good light and aid someone else in a positive light, so that you can see, okay, this is what might happen to me, this is their intention of me. But if you witness them doing other people dirty, well, guess what? Things like repeat itself. History repeats itself. Okay. So that's it with point number 1. Point number 2 is take your time. Do not let yourself be rushed. I always say this in almost all of my videos that talk about self-improvement or anything, even beauty, doing your makeup or whatever. Don't let anyone or anything rush you. That's point number 2. And I'm going to go a little bit deeper into why. I always go deeper into it, but for this video's sake, I'm going to pretend that you haven't seen any of my videos. So, when I say don't let anyone rush you, I think Pastor R.C. Blakes said this before. A feminine woman does not rush. Okay? You cannot rush if you are making important decisions, especially important decisions that has to do with life, your life, which is the most important thing. Okay? So in point number 2, I wrote here, you are less likely to safely and easily remove yourself from a situation that you've been rushed into. Anytime you catch yourself being rushed into something, or someone pressures you, essentially that's a form of rushing, right? To do something. Well, it's really hard to stop yourself. Think of yourself driving a car, right? Or something that goes really fast, some of you might be pilots, some of you, I don't know. But imagine yourself driving or going really, really, really fast. When you stop, think about when you were in driver's school. Those of you who are old enough to drive, I know that I have some young people on my channel now. So for those of you who are learning to drive, who have learned to drive, think of when in driving school, what did they say? If you're going like 60 miles per hour and you want to stop the car doesn't stop when you put your foot on the brake. If you're going like this, you don't just stop. There are laws of physics and so that prevents you from doing that. What happens is that you slow down, then you stop. Or if you want to stop, then you feel your body kind of jerk back and forth because you have too much momentum. Okay, you have too much force because you're already in motion. So when you rush to do something, it's really difficult to just stop or get out of a situation because you need to be able to slow yourself down and then stop. And point B in point number 2 is, I wrote here, don't rush to sign anything. Don't rush to make any commitment, any life-altering decisions like marriage, sleeping with someone, having children, co-signing on a loan, opening a joint account, so on and forth. Don't rush yourself to do anything that has your name on it at all. That has your name on it, that people can come after you because it has your name on it. Do not rush in any of those things. So that's how you can swiftly and easily remove yourself from situations that no longer serve you, by not rushing yourself to make solid executive decisions. And point C that I wrote in point number 2 is, use whatever tools you have to stall. If you are presented in the situation that someone is rushing you, find a way to stall. So just say, oh my God, I'm so confused. I'm going to have to read over it. I think I need to tell my sister about this, or my brother. I need to really think about what you said and get back to you. I really want to think about this, or oh my God, I'm so confused. Some of you who have anxiety, I'm not an advocate for lying, but heck, say, oh my God, I'm having anxiety about this. Fake an anxiety attack if you must, okay? Some of you who can, but just find a way to stall where you're not, oh my God, forgive me. The sun is setting, so it's getting a little bit, the sun is setting, so it's getting a little chilly, but that's why I'm shivering a little bit. But anyway, back to the point. Find a way to stall whenever someone is rushing you. Tell them, oh my God, maybe I have a headache. Or if you don't want to lie, great, even better. A feminine woman tries her hardest not to lie, but you can conceal the truth. So you don't have to open yourself and your heart and your words and your mind, your life to when you're not ready. So you don't have to lie, but you can conceal the truth to protect yourself as a feminine being. How does that look like? Just say, you know what? I'm going to have to think about this and get back to you. So you're not lying, but you're telling them I need some time, and you're concealing yourself. Okay. And that's okay. And point D in point number 2 I wrote is, do not rush to show off, to prove a point, or out of need or desperation. And what I mean by that is, especially when I say do not rush to show off, we do this quite often. I've done this a lot. Let's say that I'm going to go buy something or make a great decision or a business deal. And I again, sometimes ego comes in, right? So you're like, oh my God, I'm going to go and do this. I'm going to buy this property, or I'm going to buy this car, or I'm going to buy this investment. And you're rushing to show off. There's absolutely no reason for you to speak about this. other than the purpose of showing off of your ego. Okay, so rushing often that isn't always about, someone pressuring you to do something. It also about you pressuring yourself to do something. So don't pressure yourself to show off and to make a decision that you cannot get yourself out of, that you cannot strategize yourself out of. Okay, if you want to say, oh my god, I'm going to buy this investment property, and you look at the contract and you're like, this doesn't really sound right, but because you told the entire village, the entire town, the entire city that you're buying an investment property, now you've pressured yourself to buy this property whether or not it was a good decision. And that is a form of rushing. So let's move on to point number 3. Forgive me, the sun is setting, so I need as much light as I can. So that's why I keep repositioning the camera. But anyway, point number 3 is try to live within your means, and also try to pay your bills a month, if you can, 2 months, if you can, 3 months ahead of time. I learned this trick from one of the women who, when I started traveling for work and being a contractor, I learned this point from someone who was doing that job, the position, for over a decade and a half. And she said, Krista, because what we do, because you're a contractor, you don't get paid normal, like weekly or bi-weekly, like normal people. You get paid sometimes 2 weeks, 30 days, or 90 days after you work. So you need to be able to ration your payment in a way that benefits you. And oftentimes, if you just keep it in your bank and you're like, okay, I'll ration it, what happens is that whatever the reason is, you're going to start chipping at it. So she taught me a trick where let's say you get a big chunk of money from working a contract, right? Put some in your savings, your investment account, whatever, but also just pay bills that your livelihood bills. So like your rent, mortgage, food. Maybe it's harder to buy it's maybe a little bit difficult to buy groceries, but buy stash money away for food, your electricity bills and everything. Pay them a month, 2 or 3 months ahead. So for whatever reason, if you use the remaining amount in your bank account, well, your bills are already paid. So whatever the reason, whatever happens, you're not worried now about your livelihood or the roof over your shoulder. Okay? So ever since she taught me that a few years ago, and I started doing it, I kind of even tweaked it a little bit. It's been working out great for me. And also, when you do that, when you pay your bills, certain bills a month, 2 or 3, or however much you mean, I read in a book, I think was that Rich Dad Poor Dad, when you pay your bills a little bit ahead, you're essentially, first of all, that's what wealth means. Okay, we always say we want to be rich, but the goal is to strive to be wealthy. And your wealth is determined by how much are you able to survive without consistent income. So how much do you, in assets or in whatever, in money or assets that you have, how much are your assets able to sustain you, and for how long, living the life you live normally, for how long? Okay, so when you pay your bills ahead of time, you're kind of building wealth in a way, and you're kind of building peace of mind to grow and maintain that wealth. That goes back to point number 2 when I said don't let anybody rush you. Your bills can rush you. It is not only humans that rush you. Your bills rush you. You ever been worried about a bill being due or paid? If you've never worried about that, I'm so happy that you've never experienced that. But I have, to be completely honest. And those of us who have, it's such like how can I say, something that kind of numbs, not numb, but what do you call that thing when you're like frozen, like when you go to the hospital and to give you the anesthetic? The word is escaping me, but when you are worried about a bill getting paid, especially a really important bill like your rent, or I don't know, your health bill, or like whatever, a really important bill, you are kind of rushed into, oh my God, what am I going to do to make sure this mortgage is paid? What am I going to do to make sure this rent is paid, or whatever this thing is paid? So you're not even thinking about what is happening to you in the moment. You're not living in the moment. You're living in the fear. And so that's what paying your bill ahead of time does. If you're dealing with things and people. You're like, well, this situation doesn't serve me. I'm strategizing to leave this job that seems to be giving me a headache, or I'm strategizing leaving this person who seems to be giving me a headache, and I think I can be fine without them because I have money, I have livelihood, I've paid my bills ahead of time, I've protected myself safely enough. Okay. Point B and point number 3 is exactly if you have if you're having a hard time at your job and this is not something you can fix or quick, or uh talk about, and it seems like you have to now leave, well, you can just say, okay, I've saved enough money and I think I will be fine, and I paid my bills ahead of time, so let me just peacefully and swiftly remove myself from this headache and go and find a better peaceful way to make my livelihood. Point C in point number 3 is when you try to live within your means or pay your bills ahead of time. Point C is if you are seeing someone or dating someone and you realize, oh my god, they've asked me to move in, or I've quickly moved or rushed myself into the situation. When you are not living above your means, then if somehow, I hope not, but if somehow you find yourself moved in with them or joined in with them quickly more than necessary, financially at least, and you realize, oh my god, I have to get out of this situation, because you've been living within your means, you can just say, oh my god, well, good riddance, I have saved enough money and I can just go and well, good riddance, I've saved enough money and I can just go my separate way now that I know the kind of person that they are, that they have not revealed themselves to me initially. But that is more difficult. That is very difficult to do when you're not living within your means, because now you have to worry, oh my god, what if I leave them? Or I just got this giant house with them, how can I afford it? I didn't save enough money, or so on and forth, you see. So point number 4 in how to easily remove, or how to strategically remove yourself from situations that no longer serve you. Point number 4 is listen to that gut feeling or that voice of reason in your head. Please listen to it, okay? And in point 4A, I wrote here, especially when you've done your inner work. Ladies, if you are doing your inner work, or if you've done your inner work, you're reading the self-help books, you're doing the self-healing books, and so on and forth, there is no reason for you not to trust yourself. If you do not trust yourself and you claim that you are doing inner work, that means that the inner work is not inner working, because the number 1 result of inner work is to trust yourself and to trust your source, your God, your source, whatever, the universe, whatever you may call it. But when that is a big safety platform of doing inner work to give you that peace. Okay, if you don't trust yourself, you don't trust your voice of reason or your gut feeling, then maybe you're not doing the inner work as you think you are. Okay, so if you're doing inner work, reach the place where you can trust yourself, you can trust your voice of reason, because you are, or you have done the work to gain that trust within yourself. I know a lot of times with us feminine women, because of trauma, if we've accumulated enough trauma, we don't trust ourselves because we feel like we've betrayed ourselves in allowing certain things to happen to us. I have been there, but after doing my inner work, Krista doesn't betray Krista. I don't betray myself. I don't put my safety in jeopardy. I will always try to survive. Always. Okay? That is my innate desire. That is every human being's desire, whether it is conscious or subconscious or unconsciously done. Okay? And the more you do inner work, the more you're able to safely actually keep or maintain your survival, you see. So point B in point number 4, listening that gut feeling or that voice of reason, is sit still and ponder on your thoughts. I've said this in my previous videos and I will also say it again. When you sit down and you ponder on your ideas, your thoughts, your decisions, your actions throughout the day, you can see where you are, where you're going, and where you don't want to go. But if you do not sit and ponder, that is very difficult to do. It's kind of like a pilot getting on a plane, not looking around the plane, not looking at the path where they're gonna go, not doing their flight planning, not doing anything, just getting on the plane and taking off. That's really scary, right? Or that would be like you getting in your car and not knowing where you're going. Yeah, maybe you'll end up somewhere good, but most of the time you'll probably end up lost or losing gas or without gas, okay? When you sit and ponder your thoughts and yourself, that's like a way of planning. That's a way of assessing your plans, okay? And when you don't have a plan, you will plan to fail. That's a quote that I've read somewhere a long time ago that I live by now. I will plan a lot. Of course, don't have a chokehold on life and say, oh my God, this has to be done. This has to be planned. No, it doesn't have to be like that. But no, seriously, sit and ponder with your thoughts. I will never forget, I dated someone who was, I don't like using the word narcissistic because I think we all have the tendency in us, but I dated someone who was, I would say, a little bit controlling. And what a big thing that they didn't like is that they didn't like that I like to spend a lot of time alone. So I would go out with my friends and they would rather me even go out with my friends, but they didn't like me spending time alone. You know why? And this is a theory I have. I theorize that they didn't like it because I soothe myself very well. And I also find solutions to my problems very easily when I'm alone. When I'm surrendering to stillness, I find solutions to problems that I haven't even created yet that I know I will get. And I think that person didn't want me to sit still because then I would start seeing the track and the patterns of what they are doing or what they've done and see who they really are. And of course, that's not good. If someone's trying to take advantage of you or control you, it's not good if you can predict them. It's not good if you can see their patterns in a time where you're like in quietness and stillness, So yes, find time to sit still and ponder on your thoughts. Find stillness so that you can know what it is that you're going. Okay? And be quiet and think. But be quiet and think. Strategy is not loud. Strategy is not boastful. Strategy is not prideful. So you don't need to go to someone and say, oh my God, I'm strategizing to leave you, or I'm strategizing to leave this job, or I'm strategizing to buy this property, this investment, this business. I'm strategizing to begin this. You don't have to be boastful about it. And people can manipulate you and control you easier when they can see you from a miles away. When they can see you and your pride and your boastfulness from miles away. So they can predict you, so that they can predict to control you. And point number C in point number 4, when I said listen to that gut feelings or that voice of reason, is point C is pray. All will be revealed to you when you pray. All will be revealed to you when you just sit still and talk to your source, tap into your source, whatever that is. I'm Christian. I believe in God. I was named after Christ. I believe in Christ. But whatever you believe in, whatever your source is, whether it's the universe, your ancestors, your Allah, Jesus, Buddha, whoever you call upon, as your God, or there's only one God, but whatever name you use for your God, pray to your source, okay? Pray to your creator so that all things can be revealed to you. There's a Bible quote. When I was really little, I learned it. So I learned it in French, and it says, appelle-moi et je te répondrai. It means, call me and I will answer to you. I think that it's somewhere in the Bible. Forgive me, I'm not like a crazy verse person, but in the Bible, the voice of God, it says in the Bible that God himself said, call me and I will answer you. So pray to him and he will answer you. He will reveal the things that you have never seen or you do not know. So all will be clear to you if you pray to your source, if you pray to your God. If you don't believe, that's a little bit difficult. I don't know how to that's hard. But you know, maybe center yourself enough that you can find some stillness and peace, and tap into your source. If your source is you, then tap into your calmness so that you can answer you know, or however you can do that. That's hard for me to talk a little bit. That's difficult for me to go a little bit deeper in, because I believe in God. So that's a little bit harder for me. But hey, there's no judgment here with the Feminine Takeoff. It's a self-improvement channel. We might not understand or believe everything that we're all doing, but we will love each other through it and use the tools we can to propel and to thrive. Okay. And the final point number 5 on how to easily or strategize yourself into situations that no longer serve you. Point number 5 is anything or anyone who enters your life, you need to be able to see its place or path in your life, like at least 6 months to 5 years ahead. Don't be rigid, but be mindful. And what do I mean by that? Use probabilities. I think I have a video on probabilities. I think I may have posted it, or if I didn't, delete it. Sometimes I delete my videos. I don't know why. But I hope I didn't delete it. But I think it talks about how to use probabilities to thrive as a feminine being. So yeah, again, so anything or anyone who enters your life, you need to be able to see a path or see its place. That person or whatever that thing is, person or thing, you need to be able to see its place or path in your life at least 6 months to 5 years of how its presence in your life is going to be. Again, I said don't be rigid, but be mindful. Okay. For example, if you're buying a car and let's say I bought my first car. I bought it as a used car. It's a fast car. You guys, her name is Naomi. You probably all saw her in my previous video. She was a used car, but I bought her in cash. But she had a little bit of a high mileage, and I thought to myself, will it break down easily? And if it broke down, would I be able to afford the costs of it? Okay, so when you are planning to bring something in your life or a person in your life, whatever, you need to be able to say, in 6 months, if this car breaks down, or in 6 months, if this person gets sick, in 5 years, if this person and we have discord or things aren't rainbows and butterflies, how would I handle it? How would they handle it? Or how would it be handled? Okay, is this good in my life 6 months, 5 years from now, or long term from now? You need to be able to see those paths. Otherwise, if you do not know how to tune into what that future looks like, that means you're living aimlessly. Do you really want to be living aimlessly as a feminine being? No, we don't. But if you're buying a car with the type of mileage that it has, will it break down in 6 months? If you're going to school, will you be able to keep up with the payments of your bills or of the school itself or so when you resume your studies? So, a lot of times I go to school on and off. So oftentimes what happens is, because I'm a contractor, it could be a summer or a set of few months where I'm working every single day for 3 months, every single day for 4 months, sometimes 6 months with like a week off or 2 weeks off, but back to back to back working schedule, right? It works for me. I like being a contractor. It's not for everyone. But whatever schedule you have to think, if I have the summer off and I could work 2 months straight with no days off, when I resume school, am I going to be able to work 2 months straight with no days off? So is that school or is this job conducive to where it is I'm going? Am I planning accordingly? What does this job, what does this school, what does this plan, what of this person in my life, where does it look like it's going? Where is it going? Where is it already? And where is it going 6 months, 5 years from now? What is the conclusion to this? So are you able to even keep up with your payments or resume your payments? Or, if you have a job, are you going to be able to keep up your payments if you dropped out of the work, like, quit your job to go back to the school? If you're not quitting your job, are you able to study full time and work full time? What does that look like? There's no wrong or right answer, but there must be an answer. There has to be an answer. And that answer, only you can come up with it if it has to do with your life. Or for example, if you're going to be pregnant 2 years from now, should you buy that sports car that only has 2 seats and no room for a car seat? Are you gonna be a single mom if you plan on being pregnant in 2 years? I know so many people who are like, oh my god, I need a baby, whatever the situation is, and I get it. There's no judgment here. But I talk to a lot of women who are like, oh my god, my culture, my family's pressuring me to have a baby. I need to pass on the bloodline. And then they rush. They're dating these people, and then they're not married, and they rush to get married, or they rush to get pregnant, and then it's not ideal. And 2 years later, you have the baby, but a really not planned or conducive life to you or the child. So again, point number 5, really try to see a projection of what anything or anyone who enters your life. Try to see the projection of them 6 months to 5 years from now, or a little bit more. Again, don't be rigid, but be intentional, but be mindful. Okay? And point number 5, again, in having that projection of whatever enters your life or whoever enters your life. Point B is that guy you're dating. If he's slightly abusive now, how worse would he get when you graduate and you're in your law degree, when you're making more than him, when you're getting recognized even more than he is? Now, right now, you're a student, so he will say little mean things to you about your grades or whatever. But what happens when you become that lawyer? What happens when you become that doctor? What happens when you become that pilot? What happens when you become that business owner? Okay? Is these mean little insults gonna get worse? Is he gonna start beating the confidence out of you now? You really have to think about that. What happens when you finish your residency or get a promotion, get that license, that pilot's license, or just start blatantly exceeding him? How worse is he going to get? Will he go into greater measures in taking away your confidence? And how bad are those great measures? Or that little friend who's jealous of you, if you get your hair done, she'll be like, oh, it's nice, but it's sticking out, it's not really pretty on you. When you start to actually grow your hair longer and stronger, what measure is she gonna go to? Is she gonna take the scissors and cut it off? What is the plan? What is 6 months? What is the timeline of their action that they're showing you now using probability? How badly is that going to get? How intense is that going to get? Or it could be a good thing. Like that guy who's respectful, he listens to your emotions, he listens to your thoughts and everything that you feel. 6 months from now, he might even get better, So we keep him. Or that friend who's kind, genuine, and supportive. What's going to happen 5 years from now? They'll even amplify. They might do more inner work and become a greater version. So we keep them. Okay? It doesn't always have to be negative, but you do have to be mindful. Point number 5, in seeing the trajectory of where you're going and the people who are going there with you. Point C is, what they say, I read this, I don't know where I read this or heard this, but it says, women have been giving instincts in order to prevent or avoid danger. Okay, so as I would always say, feminine takeoff ladies, stop while you are ahead. Your instincts, listen to it. When you use probabilities, when you use your projections, I think we're all smart. If you're watching this video, if you're watching any self-improvement channel, then you're smart. You're trying to get better. So if you are truly doing that, then use your instincts to avoid things before you get ahead. When you sit to yourself and you say, you know what? This person sure is rushing me to get married. They sure are rushing me to sign this divorce paper without, reading over my prenup agreement. They sure are rushing me for me to close this sale, sign the title over to their name. Why? Oh, I think I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead. I think I thought about it, or I haven't really thought about it, but I'm not sure. I'm not gonna go that far because I don't know how much I'm gonna need to pull myself out of it if I allow myself to go that far. So I always say, feminine ladies, stop while you are ahead. You are still ahead. you feel like you're still ahead, stop. All right, that will be all for today. Thank you so much for taking time to tune in and listen to me. I appreciate every single one of your views, every single one of your comments. I'm so grateful for every single one of you. Let's grow and thrive together. Let's take off and better ourselves here with the Feminine Takeoff. Let me see if I have any final points before I close out. Okay. Oh, final thing. Also, please like and subscribe and comment. It really helps me a lot. You know, I'm a growing channel. I want to continue to grow. I want a lot more people to hear my words and hopefully use it to better themselves, to improve themselves, to make womanhood, to make the platform for women in the world, women in the community to be better for themselves, for their friends, for their marriage, for their spouse, for their children, for their siblings, for their family, for anyone who interacts with them. So the only way that can happen is if you like, comment, and subscribe, and allow my videos and allow my words to have further reach. So thank you for those of you who are already doing so. Those of you who are not, I encourage you to do so because it really helps me a lot. Anyway, thank you so much again for tuning into the Feminine Takeoff. Let's take off to better ourselves. Let's take off to be the best version of us. Thank you for watching. Mwah.